Today we are talking about taking control of your health over 40 with Polly, Deanna, and Toni, members of our 60-day reset. We get told a lot of stories about what getting older is going to look like. And because perimenopause and menopause can feel so uncomfortable, it's easy to surrender to the symptoms and feel like there's not much you can do about the raging hormones and the weight gain and the hot flashes and the stress and anxiety and sleep issues and low energy and brain fog. Oh gosh, I know what that feels like because I have been through it. I've spoken a lot on the podcast about my health journey. Menopause hit me hard in my 40s. And even though I was living a really healthy lifestyle, I just wasn't prepared for the changes in my body and for how horrible it was going to feel. I gained over 30 pounds and I had insomnia and brain fog and muscle aches and pains, hot flashes and sweats, dramatic mood swings. I just felt like a hostage in my own body. And I had a lot of shame about it because I thought, oh, come on, Tess, you help people get healthy for a living. You should be able to figure this out. Why is this happening? So after about a month of feeling pretty miserable with these symptoms, I thought, I'm not living like this. I've got to figure this out. I'm not letting menopause ruin my life. And healthy eating and what I'd always done just wasn't working anymore. I had to take things to the next level and get super strategic and get my nutrition really dialed in for this phase of my life. So I went into serious research mode. And with the help of top hormone doctors and dietitians, I figured out how to nourish my body midlife. And I was able to turn everything around. I dropped all of the weight and have kept it off. And I got rid of all my menopause symptoms. I haven't had a hot flash in years, no sweats. I sleep through the night and I have more energy than I had when I was 30. And so I invited a bunch of my friends to do this same protocol, and they all lost the weight and got rid of their menopause symptoms. And so since then, my dietitians and I have helped thousands of women lose weight naturally and safely and live symptom free and thrive at every age with our 60-day reset. I'm just so passionate about helping women get healthy because there's so many women suffering unnecessarily. We're just not told what to do. So many health issues are made worse simply because we aren't given useful and sustainable guidance on how to nourish ourselves at this phase of life. And it all comes down to gut health and strategic nutrition. Whether you are on hormone replacement therapy or not, your gut literally rules your body. So any approach to better health has to be rooted in better gut health. When you improve your gut health and digestion and figure out how to eat for your body and your needs, you can regulate your blood sugar and hormones and reach all of your health goals at any age. And even though I know the science behind this and I teach this stuff, I'm still just constantly amazed at the power of the human body, the healing that takes place when you eat well and prioritize your sleep and exercise and manage your stress. And because our program happens live, it gets very personal. My dietitians and I get to know every single member. And so we have got a lot of incredible stories about the changes that are possible. And you're going to hear 3 of those stories today. Oh, I'm so excited. So let's get the skinny from Polly, Deanna, and Toni. Oh, I'm so excited that we're going to have our little conversation today about Skinny 60. So, Toni, I'm going to start with you because you're an SK60 veteran, as you like to call yourself, and a really beloved member of this community. You've been in the community the longest out of the 3 of you today. So, Toni, you joined during the pandemic, didn't you?
Yeah.
So, what was the motivating factor? Why did you decide to dive in at that particular time?
Oh well, we're my one of my best friends is your sister, so I know you and I love you, and we've always very much connected. I think we have a very special friendship, you and I. But I had children 10 years prior, and had said my baby weight was baby weight, but she was 10 years old at that stage, and you really need to let go of that. I'd done some lean cuisine. I'd done the home delivery service. I'd done Weight Watchers. I'd put on Australian 20 kilos, and I was feeling tired and just dragging myself through life. And this opportunity came up, And I just, at that point, I don't think the pandemic had hit Australia yet. Like it was starting. We didn't really understand the full global scale of it. But I just said, yeah, sure, I'll try it. I love cooking. I'm at home cooking for the kids. And so I just dove in, and it was, at the time, the world was collapsing, and I was doing this food journey with you guys and going to the supermarket in a time where everything was sold out. The shelves in every supermarket was completely destitute. But where I was taking myself because of the meal plans, there was a full supply of fruit and vegetables. All the ingredients that we have in Skinny 60 is not what the population eats, because their highly processed options were all getting pilfered by everyone who was panicking. And I just found, that's what I started. I had baby weight that I hadn't lost and was never losing at that stage, because I had just tried every option. Weight Watchers wasn't working. I'd lose 300 grams and be, yay, I've lost 300 grams. And that was the start of my journey. And I had a very successful 60 days with you guys, and learnt, 50% of what I now know is good eating and good lifestyle and good choices. And that's where I started. That's when I started.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying about that. That's a story we heard over and over. That, oh, this is so great. Everything that I need still in the grocery stores, because everyone's grabbing all the processed food. And so you emerged from the pandemic healthier than you had ever been, which is so exciting. Polly, I want to ask you, because gosh, as a nurse, that must have been a pretty incredible time for you. I know that you had looked at a lot of different things and researched it heavily, and the science is really important to you. So what was that like for you going into Skinny 60? What was the deciding factor where, out of all of the options out there, why did you choose this?
I would say I came out of the pandemic as a healthcare worker, probably in a constant mode of fight or flight. I was
Yeah.
always stressed. I was probably one of those people reaching for the processed foods during
Yeah.
the height of COVID. My husband and I definitely felt our snack habits had slipped. And I would say that I was experiencing a lot of heartburn, acid reflux. My weight was up, and I was certainly not calm. I remember being on a video call with someone and seeing my shoulders go up and up and up till they were at my ears, and realizing I'm not calm, I'm not grounded, and I'm not feeling well. I felt like I was probably several years older after just a couple years of going through the stress of the pandemic. And then ultimately in 2022, we both caught COVID and dealt with that too. But so I definitely knew I needed to make a change. I knew I felt very well with a vegan or plant-based type diet myself. And I was very familiar with all of your cookbooks and loved them, made lots of the food. And I just felt like I needed more support and more help. So when I learned about the Skinny 60, I thought that would be a really good option for me.
And Dina, science is really important to you as well. So I know that you had really researched this to
Mm-hmm.
really decide what approach felt right for you. So how did you come to the decision out of all of the things that you looked at?
Yes, I had was planning to do a 3 month sabbatical and go somewhere and detox from the entire world. And I was also in need of high detox. And I didn't want any quick fix, and I did not want anything that I had to rely on somebody else for. I was familiar with Fit for Life. Like when I was 18 years old, I fell in love with that book. And so all the programs that I researched, and I'm sort of a eating sort of diet way of eating person, that I love to look at different things. So when I found Skinny 60, It followed the food timing on some level, the food combining for sure, and just the whole ethos of it. And then the whole program was so self-sufficient, and I could learn and I could do it in a remote area. Um, and it was the perfect reset and program for me because it was research based and it followed a methodology that I highly believed in. And then you taught me how to do the stuff, and then I could do it on my own and not have to pay lots of money or go to anybody else to figure it out. So it was 100% perfect, and still to this day is. Mhm.
And you came in with having had chronic constipation your entire life,
Mhm.
right? And you had hot flashes, you were going into menopause, there were lots of digestive issues. So there was a pretty extraordinary transformation with that. So the whole gut health piece was also really key for you,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Yeah, I actually had a GI bleed in 2016 and about bled out. I lost 3 gallons of blood, and I was in the hospital ICU for 5 days and had to have blood transfusions. And it came really out of the blue. But I have always struggled since I've been a little child with constipation and sort of, you know, just digestive issues. That's really never been diagnosed or anything. It's just a finicky system, I guess. Um, and so it was highly, I was just really burnt out when I left my corporate job and when I went on the sabbatical. So yes, I had constipation. I've had that forever. I can't take any NSAIDs or anything like that for inflammation. So I had really chronic shoulder pain because I was in a very bad car wreck in 2018, and broke my back. Um, and so I had to do something that I could sustain for the rest of my life. And that was very, um, like truthful, and for me, organic, and for me, sustainable. So I went with that whole intention of like, I can't mess around with any packaging programs or any, I was so done with it. And I was so done with feeling out of control, quite frankly, even though I was trying to do a lot of the right things. So,
Yeah, so that's a really common thing, this idea of there being so much information out there and not really knowing what to do, how to do it, what's legitimate, what isn't. Polly, you also had that same situation, didn't you, where there was just so much information and you weren't sure what to do.
Absolutely. There's so much noise in so many different ideas about diet. In the past, I had tried various diet programs, counting calories, kind of self deprivation, losing a few pounds, feeling good, then kind of going back to some of the habits that maybe weren't the best. And it really was kind of a cycle that was not working well for me. And I needed to try something that was more sustainable, that was delicious, and actually had a very strong scientific backing for when you eat, what you eat, and foods that actually are filling. Makes sense.
Toni, you also talk a lot in the community about the learning, as Deanna was saying and Polly was saying, that you learn what to do, how to do it, how to make it work for you, and that it's an investment in the rest of your life, is what you constantly say to new members in the Facebook group and on the video calls. So what was it in you? What did you learn the most by participating in Skinny 60?
Oh, well, it's the both your other friends, our friends here, have said the same thing, where you become self-sufficient. And so I'm I can see what you've put together here is the deep divers of information, and then there's me who just goes, yeah, sure, I'll give that a go. So I've done this. I've come on board with Skinny 60 and I've given it a go, and I have learned um, for the rest of my life what makes me feel better day to day. Every day, I know when I do something that's not um, when I'm eating a spaghetti bolognese, I know, do you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to feel a little bit more tired and lethargic, and I know that that's what's going to happen. So I constantly, with the tools that this program gives you, you can self bumper your journey through life. You can choose the moments where you let go and you just enjoy, and then you choose the moments and you have the tools to get back on. I know what I need to have in the fridge, and the quick cheats that I have to make sure that I feel better tomorrow just through eating. And so the learnings that I have are about, uh, I talk about it when I'm at work and I'm eating. Part of it, we work, we get catered for, we're very well taken care of. There's a full buffet of food. I walk down that full buffet of food and I will choose the 5 things that will give me energy for the rest of the day. I will feel better in 45 minutes than anyone else who's just taken everything on the buffet. But I'll choose the food that I know I will operate better. My mind will be sharper, and it is not deprivation, as Polly was saying. There's no calorie counting. I laugh. I say I haven't, since I've been on this program, I have not calorie counted or portion controlled anything. If I want a big bowl of something, I'll have a big bowl of something, and I know that I will walk away feeling better than I would have if I hadn't had these ingrained part of my system now, which is you choose the, we all know what it is. You choose the green stuff and the protein and you put that together and you have a big bowl of that and you feel fantastic, as opposed to potatoes and protein. Or so it is ongoing learning, but I feel like I have the tools now. I know what I need to know. And back to what Deanna was saying is that there's science in it. I didn't even realize, every time someone comes up to me with another program, they say, oh, we're doing the keto or we're doing this. And in my head, I go, I'm not going to tell them, because they don't probably, they're happy that they're just protein loading. And occasionally say, there's a certain point where none of it's going in. You can have, 35 grams of protein 8 times a day. And at a certain point, you've reached your capacity. But there's the learning of eating a little bit of everything and when to eat it and how to eat it has certainly become part of my daily routine, and I'm so grateful every day for feeling better than I did 6 years ago.
I love how you said your other friends here, right? So Toni and I know each other through my sister, and she and I were talking about health, and that's how Toni got introduced to the program. But Deanna and Polly and Toni and I have never met, together. And Deanna and Polly and I, we didn't know each other, And I love how in our community we all enter as strangers, but then we all think of each other as friends. Like, it's just a lovely community of supportive people where we're just, elevating and celebrating each other and wanting to be better. So, Deanna, what were some of the big learnings for you that you're carrying forward? You talked about how you now know what to do, and it's given you this power. What were some of the big things that you're using in your daily life now that you learned?
I think it's probably the habits, the daily habits, because I knew how to do food combining. And the recipes. So one takeaway that I still do today is just follow your recipe. I'm not a good cook at all, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is so much like cooking. It's really not. It's prepping, and then it's all goes into the Vitamix or into a pot, and then it tastes fabulous. So I've learned to take patience and prepare, just prep the food. Nothing's going to burn because I'm just prepping, and then it's all good. So that's one big takeaway. The other one is the daily habits. So I always get up still to this day and drink my lemon water. I take my vitamins. I if I'm taking the probiotics, I take them right when I'm eating. And so those habits on your daily sheet that you give us for routines, I still do to this day. And if I stick to that, then my life feels like it's better. And it's helped me also then to incorporate other good habits into an already structured program that I've continued to do. Um, so the other big learning is, you know what, like if I eat this way, Toni was talking about this, she knows she can make a choice and it's going to either behoove her to feel well or like be sick. And if you make the choice to be well, like for me, then I like don't have hot flashes at night if I eat this way. Never have a hot flash if I eat this way. Um, you know, my shoulder when I left my 3 month sabbatical and literally did this program like to the T, I literally left pain free. I don't have to worry about like my HDL and LDL is both high, so I'm not on medicine because the HDL is high with the LDL. But I dropped like 30 points coming off the program, and so I've maintained that. So those are some like not only habitual takeaways and sort of getting muscle memory in me to do better, but literally have some biological significant changes that have stuck with me. And if I go off and eat sugar or do something, I definitely have hot flashes. So, like,
So true.
yeah.
It's so incredible to feel it in your body. You know, we can intellectually know it or learn it or look at the science, but when you feel it inside of your body, that's a knowing you just can't ignore
No.
or devalidate, right? So you started going to the bathroom, didn't you, for the first time in your life regularly? And
Yes,
what
and I
were some
have
of
to.
the other things that really started to happen, that knowing inside of your body that,
Yeah,
wow, this actually works?
yeah, yeah. The going to the restroom was like such a heroic journey. um,
Ugh.
but you say that on your videos too. You know, like we're going to talk about poop. So
I love to talk about poop because if you're not pooping every day, nothing's going to work properly.
yeah, yeah. So it's really amazing actually to feel your cells alive. You know, to just
Mm.
feel that I think I wrote somewhere my cells feel like they're like happy and jumping around because they really do feel alive. There's so much truth to that. And when you can go to the restroom and stuff, it's the way it should be, and it's the way that it hadn't been for a long time. So I totally know the difference,
There you
and
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Polly, what was the knowing in your body? How did things shift for you? Because you had aches and pains and acid reflux and you were feeling heavy and there were all kinds of things going on for you. How did your body start giving you the signs, wow, this is the right path?
Yeah, I would say I definitely felt just in general like my arms and legs just felt lighter. Even not just yeah, considering weight loss, but just I just felt less stiff, less joint pain. I felt the reflux go away, which was huge. I felt like I was able to fuel my body for the first time, taking in things, not just avoiding, oh, I shouldn't have that, but taking in things that actually made me feel better. And I also noticed my cholesterol go down 30 points. I
Extraordinary.
also didn't realize how much a gut reset would help my mood. I was calmer and I noticed I had a more positive mood. It wasn't something I was looking for, it just sort of happened. And that was fabulous.
Oh, isn't that amazing? Look, this gut health piece is obviously the foundation of everything that we do in Skinny 60. It's a gut health reset, and everything else stems from that. So, Toni, what were some of the big revelations for you with regards to the gut health piece?
Yeah, I think as both Polly and Dina have said, I was 5 days in. I think it's like one of my mantras. You wake up 5 days into it. I suddenly woke up feeling not tired because prior to that, the 10, 12, 15 years before that, I'd just woken up every day exhausted. I woke up feeling refreshed. And then with with the routine of making your own sauerkraut and having sauerkraut with every meal adding that to every
I
meal.
was wanting to know how long it was going to be before someone mentioned the sauerkraut.
I love the sauerkraut. Love the sauerkraut. And I've got all my kids eating sauerkraut, so we'll do breakfast.
It's
You know,
incredible.
and they all eat sauerkraut, and it's fantastic. And I made a batch the other day, and I failed. I was rushing, and a week later, it was like still stiff. I was like, oh, I have to throw out a whole batch of sauerkraut. I was so devastated. But the gut health, just we're talking about poop, and it just going regularly, everything working well and feeling cleaner. Obviously, it's part of a plumbing system. It's a tradesman's body that we have, and the plumbing working well just means it's easy to achieve by eating the food from the program, because it works for me. It worked itself out very quickly, and as soon as you go off plan, or you have a week or two where whatever is happening, you suddenly feel congested and hard and unpleasant and tired and unhappy, and you just go, okay, I know what to do. I have the tools. So for me, the sauerkraut, having a stomach that doesn't feel heavy, like physically doesn't feel heavy, and you're not carrying your internal organs around in a heavy way, means that you're just so much more engaged with the people around you. You're feeling calmer, you're feeling happier, you're feeling more brain power. Everyone says now the gut health does everything, the mood, your capacity to learn more. I'm so much more engaged with everything else. I'm so much happier. I'm so much more willing to just ignore the boring, unpleasant stuff and focus on the happy stuff, because I feel lighter and happier. And it is everything, and makes everything easier.
And you lost about 30 pounds, didn't you?
Yeah, 16 kilos or whatever it is over
Yeah,
the
wow.
first time I did it, which is a testament to how unhealthy I was prior. And then 5 days in, and I do say it is overwhelming, the amount of knowledge you have, but the way you've manufactured the program, it's not something that you have to learn in the first cycle or the first week. It is something that you can continue to learn. I still log into the program and read stuff when someone will talk about something, and I'll go in and go, what does the program say about that? And I'll go into the program and find the data sheet on a particular item, and then land a bit heavier now than it did when I started. And so the overwhelm of the amount of knowledge the program has been designed so that it can be a slow osmosis of information over years. And I think that's one of the brilliant aspects of the program, that it hasn't been delivered so that it's easy to consume in 60 days. It's been delivered so that it's everything you need to know for the rest of your life.
Oh, well, that's what we aim to do. So thank you. It's, we wanted to create a really deep, rich website of tools and resources that you can use for the rest of your life to achieve and maintain better health at any age. So, Polly, for you, as someone who works in the medical community and you're helping other people with their health journeys, what were some of the big nutrition learnings for you as you made your way through this box of tools? What have you learnt about health and nutrition that not only carries you, but also helps you to do what you do in supporting other people?
I think the first thing I learned was more compassion for other people and the choices they make, and understanding how hard it can be with all of the different information we have out there, and also understanding the role processed foods really play with so many of us in our lives, and how hard they are for us, how addictive they can be. So that helps me as a nurse, definitely. And I think also understanding that food is a medicine. It can be used as a medicine and it is so helpful and healing if used properly. That's another huge takeaway. And I think too, the idea that we're not perfect. And sometimes
Mm.
patients may not always do everything just right, but just being reassuring that idea of going through the world good, better, best, not perfect is huge. I remember one time you saying, so you had a donut. Okay, move on and do better next time, in one of our Zoom meetings. And I just thought, I really took that as like, okay, so I had a handful of chips at this, office party. Okay, I'll do better, next time, but maybe I enjoyed it that one time. But I'll move on and I'll be reasonable and I'll eat maybe some sauerkraut, or in my case, I love the truly fermented the pickles.
Yeah.
I've always been a pickle fan.
Yeah.
But the fermented vegetables, take an extra walk that day and move forward.
Yeah, look, I just love this idea of good, better, best, not perfect, which is the mantra of our community. Dina, what are some of the nutrition things that you've learnt that were really big for you, kind of like ahas? You had a few of them.
Yeah, I think the biggest one was the eating the sauerkraut before, you start eating your meal, just to digest your food, to help your food digest itself by the proper food combining. But the implementation of sauerkraut and the digestive enzymes, and I didn't know that before. And I feel like I do need help digesting my food. So those were huge takeaways. The other takeaway nutritionally was around the how long it takes to like let food pass through your system. So and not always like downing a bunch of water while you're also eating, because it sort of neutralizes um, you know the, the acids or the alkaline that you're using to break down food. And so, and I think I've heard everybody say that they never counted calories. I certainly don't count calories, but I promise you the food is so good that I gain weight. I actually do have to like watch my portion control, because I feel like this is so healthy and it tastes so good. And I actually made it. And so I kind of tend to go to town on it. But so I have to kind of watch that. But that's the difference though. I can overeat that and still feel pretty good. If I undereat or overeat other foods that are processed or that are just not proper food combining, I feel really cruddy. And it feels like it takes a long time for it to get out of my system. And so there's just a no-brainer approach about the program, because the food's amazing, um, and the nutritional quality. I think the other thing I want to say real quick is the protein piece. I'm not a vegetarian, um, but I found it very yummy, the foods. And so, yes, I would mix meat when it was appropriate. But I also learned like my protein intake, how much do I need? And then able to see on the program, like what proteins contents was in all the recipes. So it sort of lessened my stereotype that I had about needing to eat a lot of meat for protein, because I could see that I actually could get a lot of that in my plant-based foods, and that was new to me, and it's something I really incorporated, and I'm much more plant-based now than I've ever been. So
Well, I mean, that's a really important point, isn't it? That everybody should be plant-based, meaning that our diet is based in plants, but plant-based is not the same thing as veganism, right? So Polly is a vegan, she's plant only, but Dina and Toni, you're both omnivores. You eat everything, right? But you're all plant-based, and then we choose to supplement our plant-based diet with plant or animal protein of our choice. So I love that you brought up the protein piece, Dina, because that's also another really important piece of the SK60 system. So, Polly, I want to ask you as a vegan, because that can be a real concern, eating plant only, to make sure that you're getting enough protein and the appropriate amount of protein for your body. How did you learn to fuel yourself efficiently as a vegan and learn about this protein piece and the different options that you had to meet your protein needs?
Absolutely. I think the program is so helpful because it gives you ideas with each recipe. If you want extra plant protein, try this. If you want animal protein, try this. And I would say, too, the advice, since I was following that path of not completely avoiding lentils or beans, having a little perhaps to supplement, having a little perhaps buckwheat or sprouted oats, steel cut oats was another great recommendation. And just supplementing with some of that was tremendously helpful. I feel like prior to that, I knew for me personally, eating plant-based and following a vegan path was helpful, but I didn't quite know how to do it in the healthiest way. And sometimes I might rely on, in the past, more processed things. And then I slowly learned, okay, that's not the quality protein that I need. Kung Fu was a huge deal for me. That was
Oh,
a big
Humphrey is
game changer.
life-changing. It's so delicious. Yeah, I know. It's the greatest. Toni, you're an omnivore and you really mastered this protein piece where you would, put something on the table for your whole family and everybody would choose their protein. So how did the protein strategy change things for you?
Yeah, it's for me, I think it was like 4 weeks into the program, and people were talking about being tired and not, and you say, okay, you need to check your protein, and I think I went, oh, I need, clearly as a contrast to it, Polly and Deanna, I was like, oh yeah, I need to go back and check out that page of and so I went and checked out, read it properly, and went, okay, I'm already feeling better. Then I checked the protein requirements. I went, okay, so this is the key part of what I'm missing. And so then I've introduced protein and what I do at home, because my husband's a everything eater as opposed to an omnivore. So he's, and then my kids are also, growing kids, and they need to do what they need to get through. And so I would put out sort of the banquet, and I put in protein, greens, carbs, because they need to have that. So I put it all out there. And everyone helps themselves, but also the multiple proteins. So you can have all the plant-based proteins, you put them out, and if they're just part of the banquet, everyone just helps themselves and they don't even realize that they're doing it. My daughter is a much healthier eater than she was, and she'll choose plant-based proteins quite happily with me, which is great. But using the seasonings, all the way that the program teaches us to use seasonings and to make the pure items taste better through cooking it ourselves, means that we just have a much more, it's much easier to get the family to eat the food when we make it ourselves at home, put it all out. The blend of having 14 things out when they're just grabbed from the fridge, and we have all the ingredients. We're talking about pickles and sauerkraut and the veggies, and all of that just goes on the table. The protein is shared. I don't know, I'm rambling, but it is definitely easier when I'm just grabbing the base of the meal is the skinny 60 stuff, the vegetables and those plant-based meals that we have. Then I'll add one protein and everyone helps themselves. I just see the kids and my husband eating food on a much healthier level and feeling better when I cook using the recipes that we have available.
I mean, you really mastered that whole one family, one meal thing that we have in the community, this buffet style eating where you can make one base, group of things and then everybody adds their protein. Someone in the family might want a grilled piece of chicken. Someone else might want fish. Someone else might be eating plant-based protein. You can put it all on the table and everybody chooses their own adventure, so to speak. I want to ask you about that, Toni, because you've helped so many other mothers in our community do it too and make that a reality with these suggestions. You're all talking about when I stay on program. I want to just ask you about this, Tony, because staying on program for you doesn't necessarily mean that you're making recipes on a meal plan or following a meal plan. Being on plan can look a lot of different ways, right? And you're really choosing what you're doing at any given time. So you're talking about knowing how to eat off meal plan and cobbling things together, right?
Totally. Yeah, totally. Um, yes, look, I have a couple of recipes that I go back to all the time from the program, and I'll make them for myself. The African stew is amazing. I will make a big batch of that and everyone will eat it. But honestly, knowing that what I'm looking for, tomato, eggplant, all the green leafies, putting, and I don't have a nightshades problem clearly, so I can make like a beautiful stew with all of those things, knowing that you just don't use potatoes in something that you would normally. I can make a curry for the family without using a recipe or a bottle of whatever. I'll make a curry, and where the recipe might ask for potatoes in it, I'll just substitute easily. So using the knowledge that I have from Skinny 60 and just replacing potatoes, replacing whatever the carb is into a regular recipe is very simple now.
So I want to ask you about that, Polly. How has using the education of making the recipes and other things, how has that helped you to riff, and create other really healthy things for yourself?
I think understanding the principles of food combining and understanding so much I've read on the website about nutrition, it really helps to make better choices in general. And it's true, sometimes you might try using the same principles of food combining, try this with this, or try some new recipe that fits. I've certainly crowdsourced on the Facebook group before as well. During the summers when someone gave me a bunch of vegetables or something that I'm not sure what to do with, and the community is so helpful saying, well, this recipe is SK60 compliant. This works well. And I've made this before. So I think definitely, it is good to expand, to learn how to apply the principles to different recipes too. So I've
Yeah.
definitely tried that as well.
Yeah. So, Deanna, you had been in a situation where you were not used to cooking like this. You sort of were a little bit stressed about it. Then you learnt, okay, I'm just going to make these things and then it works. How has this cooking journey for you evolved by using the example of the recipes and then, you gaining confidence that you can then start, doing some other stuff using the principles?
Yeah, I mean, it helped immensely. I also am your cooking club member, so it's to
Yeah.
watch the videos. And I mean, sometimes there's words that I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So be able to see it in action and then to watch you do things in action, for me, just took the complexity out of it. And I had to just get in my repertoire of like, oh, you prep. Yeah, you don't just like start cutting things when everything else is already on the stove. And so I didn't know anything about spices and things other than salt and pepper. So just being able to follow along and learn, it's become like an art and it's like a science and it's like enjoyable and it's healthy, so you can't go wrong. And then, it's even so great to say that, okay, you can make a batch of this, like the dreamy green soup, which I just made on Sunday. And then,
Oh,
you
one
can
of my
freeze it,
faves.
or and then you get it back out, and then you can put it in your Vitamix and blend it back up. Everything is just so yummy. And I don't like complexity when it comes to doing something that should be quick and you see people whipping things together. You are just so cool about like showing how to do it, not making it hard, giving shortcuts, having, a shop sort of things on your website. So the good, better, best, not perfect, you have a program that matches good, better, best and not perfect type of thing. So it gives people like me I was like limited resources because I was in a different country for 3 months with very little supplies. And I was totally 100% able to do it. And I took before and after pictures of when I started, and I lost, I think, 15 or 20 pounds by doing the program. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I still, so I, I come home, and I got a little off track when I got back home, and I started having pain in my left shoulder. I started, not going to the restroom, and I was like, Dina, you know exactly, like, you're doing this to your own self, so you can just undo it by doing Skinny 60 again. And so, that's what I'm doing. So I enjoy it. I go to the grocery store. I don't feel overwhelmed now. I actually know what some of the vegetables are and that kind of stuff. And when I look like my cart is so full, I'll have to show you a picture, Tess. It's so hilarious. When I was at my sabbatical, I literally had a big wagon because I didn't have a car. I was detoxing from planes, trains, and automobiles. So I bought one of those wagons that people take to the beaches, and I had it full of like all of this groceries because I wasn't sure like when I would get back to the grocery store because I didn't have any transportation. So I'm in an elevator and I'm taking a picture of it. So it's stuck with me, and it is not overwhelming anymore. I find it a true delight, and I'm so happy I found it. Like, so happy.
Oh, I'm so pleased. I want to ask you about this good, better, best, not perfect thing and how that has empowered you. This this idea of just aiming to make the next better choice, that we're not aiming for perfection. We're not being hard on ourselves. We're not judging ourselves. We're just kind of, you know, um, we're just taking it as it comes. How has that changed things for you, Deanna?
Yeah, that's a huge one for me. I'm kind of a perfectionist when I choose to do something, and you role model, and so does the community role models extremely well. Good, better, best, not perfect. So for me, you know what? It was the program's not stringent in terms of like deprivation and like hard rules, and I sort of can operate well sometimes under those terms in a very probably unhealthy way. So the fact that that wasn't there, and there's this good, better, best, not perfect, and the community does that. Um, I don't know. It just took like it made it more like brought simplicity into my way of being around the program, which actually really creates a profound impact, because you're less likely to be hard on yourself because there's room to be human, um, and it's modeled well too, like in the community. And you model it, Tess, when you're doing the cooking videos or when you're on the Zoom videos or your dietitians. So it's almost like um, it's just a way of being, and so it almost catches me off guard when I hear an exception for just being good, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just kind of like resets me to go, all right, cool. Like, I can make this my program. There's room for me to be me inside the program. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Polly, what has it been like for you to make this program your own and do it your way? And it doesn't have to be perfect.
It's taking a load off because I try
Yeah.
very hard to do things a perfect way, but remembering that, okay, we'll learn from this. And I'm always learning. It's the program itself is a living program. So we're always learning more with each time I look on the website or go through a cycle. And I think that, um, I think just making the connection of I will feel better if I eat this. If I
Yeah.
eat this, I will not feel as well. And just making that simple connection of, do I want to feel better today? Is definitely huge. And I think too, my husband's very supportive. He loves all the recipes, so that's been wonderful. And so I enjoy cooking them, and he's the kitchen assistant, so he'll clean up after me. So I definitely have a partner there that helps, and um, I enjoy making some of the recipes when I go to parties. I'll bring the super spinach salad or the quinoa tabbouleh, are two real big favorites. And then I know I have something that I can eat that I'll feel good with too. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
definitely,
How has that philosophy carried over into other parts of your life? The good, better, best, not
mhm.
perfect.
I definitely think it helps to have that philosophy with working as a nurse. Of course, we
Mm.
need to do our best in certain areas. I mean, of course, we always want to do our best and we want to have the best outcomes. Um, but I think it um, definitely helps. Maybe you're not number one at something. Maybe you need more training. Maybe, just knowing your, good, better, best, I think definitely helps. Um, yeah, I think hobbies and knitting.
Yeah.
I learned, okay,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm enjoying this. So that's the goal. And um, yeah, just, I don't know. It helps in just so many ways.
Yeah. Toni, we got Toni back. We lost you for a little bit. This is the joys of having four people in all over the world talking online at the same time. How has the good, better, best, not perfect philosophy helped you to be kinder to yourself?
Yeah, no, and you know what? Good is still good. It's like, even our baseline in
Yes.
this program, good is still good. And so I'm very, I'm conscious with the kids. I think I have definitely taken on in a daily, I don't judge myself anymore. I'm not sure I ever really did, where I see, you know, high achievers like all of us, but Deanna and Polly clearly go perfection. I was very much just printing up the good list and going to the shops and buying that stuff. Um, and I was just getting through. I'm very, we're all very busy, but but good is still good. And so I'm really thrilled that even if I'm making a good choice today, it's still better than I would have made pre-program. So I've become, probably my kids will disagree, but I've become a much calmer parent, and I just go, you know what, it's okay, it's okay. I'm only in control of what I do, so I can only control that. So I've definitely, I strive to be the best version of myself that I can be, and I know that I'm a better all-round influence on the people around me if I can do that. So I'm for good, better, best, not perfect. No one's ever perfect. We all strive for it in some way, but good is still good. And so I'm really, yeah, that's where I go, and I see it in my kids, and I see it in the people around me, and I'm really thrilled for all of us
Yeah, I love
that
that.
we can bring
I
that in.
love that. Yeah. Dina, how did the community aspect of this help you? Like, how did you tap into that? You all talked about how empowered you felt, how the resources on the website were great and you know what to do now. What was it like doing it with other people and knowing that there are other people um, that could pick you up or you could learn from,
Yeah,
in addition to the dietitians and me? What was
yeah,
that like for
yeah.
you?
The one video that always really made an impact on me early on is actually, I think it was before it was right when I joined. And I remember this lady cooking the spaghetti bolognese, and the husband was helping her. And I'm not, it was a Skinny 60 video. It was on Facebook, I believe. And they were cooking it together, and she was making this big batch. And that was when I was still like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can cook this way. Like, there's a lot of stuff to do. And I just saw that, and it kind of hit me like, oh, you just become a way of life around it. Like, you just learn how to do it. Like, I don't need to learn. It's kind of what Toni was just saying. Like, I can be good at this right now because I haven't done it. I don't have to be perfect. I see this husband and wife doing it in this big pot of things going on. And so I just thought, well, I guess I'll just follow the recipes and go to the store and get the stuff and come back, and then one by one, like, do the stuff, because the way they made it seem was like doable, practical, and they were doing it together. So I was like, oh, this is just a way of life, and I'm just now learning. So I learned that from the community early on. And that sort of, and then just getting on Facebook and seeing people ask questions. I think I posted one thing about a recipe, and I got answered, and then it was like, oh, make sure you post this over here so it doesn't, and so it felt like an interconnected community, and I wasn't just doing a program that supposedly was going to be a community. It really was a community, and then people were really kind and really in there for health. And so I just felt like it was a safe, good place to go, and I wanted to hang out with these people. I wanted to learn from these people, and it was like my tribe for health. And I didn't feel alone, and I was in a sabbatical in a different country, and so it was all cool. Like, it was like, this is just exactly what I needed. Like, who knew, you know?
So, Polly, what was it like for you tapping into the community and knowing that you weren't alone in this while you were trying to figure out what the right thing to do was for you?
Absolutely. I think the community is a huge piece to success in the program. The Facebook group or the Zoom calls. Usually, if I'm having a question or concern with something, someone else has already crossed that or answered that. Or if they haven't, we can all learn.
Yes.
And everyone is very supportive. They're not judgmental or critical. It's like Deanna said, a very safe space, a very safe community that we're all rooting for each other.
Yeah, Toni, what's the community been like for you? You're very active in the Facebook group, helping people all the time. How did you tap into the community in addition to helping everybody else?
Yeah, so yeah, at the beginning it was obviously during the pandemic. So in Melbourne we had not left the house for 6 months or something. So I had the kids at home, and for me the community, like at that point there was some, people who would wave at my daughter when she'd come and sit on my lap, and I'd get a little private message from Jane Shell saying, "Say hi to Lily for me," who's one of your members who lives in far. And so it was a really, it felt like family on that level back then, which was really key for, mental health during the pandemic. It was great to connect with people all over. But also, seeing the people come in and being able to, it's slightly egotistical to go, I know stuff that they don't. And so when someone asks a question, you go, oh, yeah, okay, try that. And it's really lovely to be helpful. And I think that's a really nice way of the Facebook community giving strength to all of us. Because as someone who's done it a few times, you go and you can see someone asking a question, you go, oh, well, try this, or make sure, if people are feeling like they want, what do I do if I need chips? I really feel like I'd love a potato or something. You just go, that's great. Try the breakfast potatoes, have it in the morning, and it doesn't alter anything about how you feel, and you get rid of that carb sort of feeling that you want. So being able to share is great for my ego, because, people are kind and they listen and they're grateful. So, selfishly, it's good for my ego.
And you can eat potatoes and be healthy, right?
Yeah, so correct.
We know that Toni loves potatoes now, because I don't know how many times you've talked about potatoes.
Potatoes have always been a dinner thing. When I saw that recipe and it said breakfast potatoes, I was like, what the hell are breakfast potatoes?
Well,
but yeah, no, it's
Deanna
fantastic.
and Polly, who live in America, will tell you breakfast potatoes are a really big thing in America.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
It's so funny. It's so funny. It's 2 words I've never put together ever before in my life. I love it.
Oh, I love potatoes for breakfast.
Maybe that's my takeaway from this whole program is breakfast potatoes.
Oh my goodness, that is so hilarious. I just love this story of empowerment. that you all have, that you know exactly what to do. And if you don't know what to do, you can tap into the community. You can go and use the resources, and you can just keep learning as your needs change as you age. And I love that the three of you are in better health now, you know, in your 40s and 50s than you were many, many years ago. So I always close every episode with the same question, which is, for somebody who has a dream in their heart and doesn't feel like they have what it takes to make it happen, what would you say to them? So I'll ask you that within the context of this health story, you know, that all of you were struggling with health issues, you needed some help and support to get into a better place. And it was overwhelming at first, and there was all this new learning and growth, but you just decided to figure it out for yourselves in your way. Like, each of you have different journeys with Skinny 60, and you really gave yourself permission to do it your way. So what would you say to somebody listening right now who knows they need to make changes and they're just not sure what to do? Polly, what would you say?
I would say now is the time to invest in your future and the rest of your life. You want to live the best, healthiest life you possibly can. And that is why you should consider something like this program, or you should do the program.
Or something, right?
Or
Even
yes,
if it
yes.
isn't this program. Like, what I love
Hmm.
about it is that we're talking about this, you know, as a celebration of that this worked for all of you and for me, which is why I created it. But just something, you know, that go and find something that resonates with you. I love that. Thank you. Deanna, what would you say?
Um, I would say, like, we're always in a process of becoming our best version of ourselves, and it's a process. And I would say, gather what you believe to be true for you, and start there, and then take the next right step for what's going to get you into who you want to become. And it is a process, and so it's just the next right move.
I love that. Toni, what would you say?
I mean, if you're looking to change something because what you're going through right now is hard, change is hard. You need to choose which hard you want to do. If you want to keep doing the same hard, but if you want to try something, change is hard. Choose that hard, and it will get better. Choose that hard now, and then you won't be going through your hard times that you've been going through for maybe the past 2 months, 3 months, 5 years. Make a hard choice. Take that left turn, and it can only be different and probably better. And this program is a great choice.
Oh, it's so true, isn't it? Everything is easy and everything is hard, you know? So it's easy to pick up processed foods, to go full circle to what we were talking about at the beginning, that everybody was grabbing for the processed foods because that was the easiest thing to do. So they're front ending the easy. That's easy. But then when you eat that food, it's really hard to digest. And then life is hard when you get a disease or you don't feel good and you can't suck the marrow out of life. So then life is so much harder. Well, what you guys decided to do was that you front loaded your hard. You went into the learning and the growth. You learned to make food and learn about how to nourish yourself. And then life just got so much easier. So you front load the hard and then it gets easy. So yeah, what a
Yeah,
great
exactly.
way to end this lovely conversation. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your experience. You're all beloved members of our community, and I thank you for how you show up in the world.
Thank you, Tess.
Thank you, Tess.
Thank you.
Oh, aren't they lovely? Just the stories are extraordinary when you just decide to take charge of your health. It was interesting what they were all saying about the relief that they felt by saying goodbye to deprivation and diets and the next fad, that they wanted to get off of that spiral. So Toni, Polly, Deanna, they all talked about how they'd been trying these short-term strategies, and, you know, they dropped some weight and then they put it back on again, and they would get on the diet and off a diet, and they kept bouncing back into habits that weren't helping them achieve the health that they wanted, and that they all wanted something sustainable that was based in science. So what I appreciate about all three of them is that they really did their research before doing our 60-day reset. They wanted something that was based in science and had credible, reliable information because there's so much noise out there. I love how they all discovered the power of gut health, that it does lead to better mood stability, better energy, reduced inflammation, weight loss, all of the wonderful things that they experienced. And I really appreciated them acknowledging the importance of nutrition education for sustainable health. The more you understand what you're doing, the easier it is to continue making good choices. And how they all learned the value of personalized nutrition in their own way. They've all got a slightly different story, the way they backed into it, the way they experienced it, the way they implemented the program, that they just gave themselves permission to listen to their body and be intuitive and just take the data and figure out what was going to work for them. I loved when they brought up about the importance of the protein. It's a very big part of our program, and how they learnt how important protein is, what a game changer it is at any phase of life, but particularly over 40, how it can help you lose weight and it can help you have energy and feel better. And I mean, it's responsible for everything, right? I really love their transparency about how they regained control of their bodies and their health journey and their relationship with food. How they were feeling out of control, like they didn't have the power. And then with the program, they realized that they could be in the driver's seat of their health destiny. Toni had the post-pregnancy weight and was feeling exhausted and tried a lot of different things. And then the joy. I loved when she talked about the joy that she experienced by feeling lighter and energized, and how much more engaged she was with her life, with her kids, with her husband, with her friends, with her work, And Polly's story of really struggling during the pandemic, the stress of being a health worker. I can't imagine what that must have been like for her, and how she was snacking all the time, just grabbing what she could because she was on the run, constantly taking care of life and death situations. And with Skinny 60s, she discovered how to nourish her body for the first time in her life. And how great that felt. And Deanna, just struggling with burnout and gut issues and chronic inflammation and all those accidents she had and chronic constipation, and that she was searching for something sustainable as well. I really love how they were all in their own way talking about how health is an ongoing journey, that you're just constantly responding to the data, listening to your body, learning, adapting. And when you have the right tools and mindset, you can make those sustainable changes. It's possible. And of course, the value of community. It was lovely them acknowledging that a big part of their success was having that support, that they didn't feel alone, that it was a very safe place to be in. And when you feel like you have that support from credible sources, kind people, whether it's on the Q&A calls on Zoom or in the Facebook group, I love, was it Polly that said I crowdsource some solutions, from other members? Isn't that lovely? How everybody's holding the group together. And I always love it when members talk about our mantra of good, better, or best, not perfect in the community, that they all acknowledged that they had that tendency to move towards perfect, and wanting to get it right. I mean, I am certainly that way too. And that life and success isn't about getting things perfect. It's just about making choices and wanting to make the next better choice, and the freedom that came with embracing that there's no hard or fast rules, that within the program parameters, there's that flexibility and room to be human and make mistakes and just figure it out one step at a time. I really loved when they were saying that you're always in process. I think it was Deanna that said it, didn't she? That you're in the process of becoming the best version of yourself. Gather what's true for you and then just make the next better choice from there. And, we talk a lot on this podcast about easy and hard, how they were all talking about that to some degree, that everything's easy and everything's hard, and we get to choose where we experience our hard and our easy, and that we're all about front loading the hard. So then the easy comes and it keeps coming, So I'd love you to join the next group if you are struggling to find a community and find a system that works for you, and you want to figure out the you plan and you want help to do it. Oh gosh, we'd love to have you be the next success story. So you can learn more at ithastobeme.com/menopause. I want to hear about your It Has to Be Me story. So head on over to ithastobeme.com/stories to share it in our free community. You can also join the conversations we're having about this episode and others. I'm Tess Masters. Join me next week and we'll dive inside another great story to help us go from dreaming to doing.